I've already covered the Manticore power rack from Bells of Steel in detail, so today we're going to be taking a closer look at all of these lovely accessories. There are two things that I love about all of them, one thing I don't like so much, and oddly one accessory that is kind of missing those two good things. Overall, I think these are all pretty great at an exceptional value for the money, although I do have a few critiques. So let's get into it. Hey friends, Canadian Steve here, obviously the only Steve in Canada. Let's start with a brief rundown of cross compatibility. So the Manticore is a true Imperial 3x3 power rack like the Rogue Monster. So all of the accessories between the Bells of Steel and the Rogue Monster are interchangeable completely. Compare that to a metric rack like the Rep PR5000, and the short version is all the Bells of Steel accessories will fit on the Rep rack, but not the other way around. Lucky for you, since I clearly have no self-control when it comes to spending money on home gym equipment, I just ordered myself a Rep Aries 2.0 with a PR5000 rack. So the Aries is on its way, but I do already have the rack and accessories sitting in my garage, so I can show you exactly how these fit together. Let's take a quick look here. Standard Bells of Steel Manticore J-Cup, PR5000 upright. Fits perfect, no issues. Little bit of play here, but it's just a J-Cup, so it would actually work great. By comparison, this is a Rep PR5000 Sandwich J-Cup. Doesn't quite fit. You could shave down that UHMW and I could jam that on there, but as it comes right now, it's a little tight. I mentioned two things that I love, which I already covered in my Manticore review. The first one is that I think Bells of Steel did a really good job covering all of these accessories, every contact point, protecting the rack and your bar with really nice UHMW plastic. I think it's great, I love it, I wouldn't buy anything else, and that's why I think the Manticore is better than the Hydra. As I've said before, man, I love these mag pins that are included for free as opposed to companies like Oak Club who are selling these for literally millions of Canadian dollars, which is only a slight exaggeration depending on when you're watching this video and whatever affects the exchange rate. Now, the one thing I don't like is that a lot of these pieces have such a small opening here that it can be extremely difficult to line it up just right and get it on there without scratching the uprights, which just seems so counterproductive considering they went to so much effort to protect it so well with all of this lovely UHMW. They're all a little bit different, so I'll cover it as I go and you'll see what I mean. Starting off with what might have become my favorite Bells of Steel accessory is the seal row pad. I was pretty skeptical about this one at first because I didn't think it could do anything that you couldn't simply do with an adjustable incline bench, but I love it. I just find being able to adjust both the mounted height and the angle lets me get into the perfect position for both incline and flat dumbbell rows, and I can get a nice full extension without hitting the footing of the bench. It's even nice for a single arm preacher curl where the dumbbell would otherwise be hitting the pad of an incline bench at the bottom, but this way you can get a nice full extension without any obstruction. Two arms don't quite work so well though. It's also great just to sit up high and look down on people you're coaching so you can criticize their form from a better angle. Hey, lift with your back, not your legs, idiot! No running by the pool! I just realized that wearing a black shirt while holding a bunch of black accessories in front of it might not be the best contrast, so better. All right, let's do some comparisons. The closest competitors are the Rogue Pritchett pad, which is great for landmine barbell rows, but the angle is not adjustable, and I think it takes up way too much storage space and is way too expensive for what it does. The Sorinex Bulldog pad is the most similar, but again, way more expensive, not really available in Canada, and not nearly as adjustable. So it's the original, but unfortunately the worst option now. Now the Rep Pegasus is an amazing piece. I absolutely love the innovation here, but it's not really in the same category, and it's the most expensive option of them all. So for a Bulldog seal row pad, this is the best option for the money. I highly recommend it. But this piece is also the main offender of the one thing I said I didn't like. I just don't understand why they made these tolerances so tight. There's just no reason for this opening to be so small and this plate to be so close to the mounting peg like this. This thing is already pretty heavy and you need to have it perfectly lined up to avoid scratching the rack when putting it on. I'm extremely careful about that, but you can already see where some gentle contact has scratched the powder coat here. This actually bothers me quite a bit, and I think it's just a terrible design choice. If I can, I'm gonna take a shot at putting a grinder to it and maybe cutting this metal down a little bit around here, and ideally leaving the UHMW slightly above the steel. So I guess we'll see how that goes. With one exception that I will get to in a moment, there's really nothing overly complex about a good set of dip bars. I do really like this one because it's solid and it doesn't rattle around when I'm using it. It also has a nice unique little feature here. This little pad of UHMW plastic is a thoughtful touch because if you flip it upside down and you want to store it on the rack, you throw it on here and like all the other Manticore accessories, that UHMW is protecting all the metal contact points. It's great, none of its competitors have that feature, so it's a nice touch. If we compare the Manticore version to the Rogue Matador or Rep Dip Station, the prices aren't that far off. The Bells of Steel is still cheaper than Rogue and better built than Rep, so I think it wins. It's still a bit tight putting it on, but not as bad as the Seal Row pad. Now, if you're an absolute diva for dips, the Mutant Metals Ultimate Dip Attachment is the absolute best of the best if you really want to go all out, with knurled and adjustable handles. However, at 3 to 4 times the price when considering shipping, it's another attachment that's in an entirely different category. The spotter arms are fantastic and excellent for doing incline presses or any lift outside the rack, which is important so that you don't need a spotter to save your life. Don't be a hero, use those safeties. I think it was a nice touch that they put UHMW on both the front and back, so there's absolutely no metal on metal contact with your bar. And if you watched my cable hack video, there's a lot more you can do with these, and having these mag pins to secure them in place is an important part of that. All right, this is the easiest one to compare with the others. The Rogue spotter arms are functionally the same, but way more expensive. Rep has no anchor point to hold them in place and no UHMW on the back or front lip, which is really annoying. Of course, being the self-sacrificing YouTube reviewer that I aspire to one day be, I still bought a set of the Rep spotter arms. So one day I may do a direct side-by-side comparison, but for now, Bells of Steel wins again. Just for a little bonus information here, I tested the spotter arm on the PR5000 upright. Now the hole spacing on a metric rack is a little bit shorter, so between where the top peg goes in and the bottom hole lines up, you cannot get a 1-inch pin in there. It just doesn't fit. You could just leave it on the way it is, or you could take a 5/8 inch hitch pin and you can get it in there. It's a little loose, it's a little wobbly, and there's a lot of play in the rack. So they would work. Obviously your bar is going to be rolling to the end because this is not holding it straight upright. Not sure if it's your best option, but if you have them already, it could work. I love safety straps. Now I covered these in detail in my Manticore review, but one thing I didn't mention is that I really like the Bells of Steel offers different color options because their racks already come in every color you could imagine as long as it's black. So this is just a nice way to give a little customization to your setup. Do check out my Manticore review if you want more detail on this, but I do think these could be designed a little bit better. If they attach the strap here to the top instead of the bottom of the bracket, it would give a lot more play. Right now, it's really difficult to get the strap high enough under the roller J-cups to get proper support. I have realized since making that video that that's really only a problem with the roller J-cups because the standard J-cups, you actually could get them a little bit lower and that would work. But I love the rollers when I bench, which is the main time that I'm really needing those straps to be a lot closer, so it could be adjusted. I do still absolutely recommend these because I love them, but I would love to see an updated version. One thing I love the most about straps is when you're done using them, instead of storing them somewhere like the flip down safeties, just unhook one, hang it out of the way, good to go. Bells of Steel really killed it with these roller J-cups. Putting aside what I just said about their compatibility with the straps, I absolutely love these for the bench. I like being able to roll the bar side to side before setting up, getting it nice and centered. These are perfect. I'm honestly surprised that more companies don't offer these because there's really nothing on the market that compares directly to them right now, especially at the price for the simple functionality that they offer. The ghost rollers that Rogue sells are popular, but once again, they're so much more expensive that I would recommend the Bells rack no matter what version you have. And yes, even though the hole spacing isn't the same, they're close enough that you can get the top pin and the mag pin in on a metric rack, so they still work. But hey man, if you really want to spend $300 for some custom color options, then the Rogue Ghost Rollers are the ones for you. For all the rest of us, these are simple, great price, and they work perfectly. So here's an odd one. As I was planning this video, I realized I think Bells of Steel sent me an older version of their Sandwich J cups. I like them, but I think the ones on their website that are newer are better. Mine are more like the Rogue 2-inch wide version with this really thick strip here, whereas the new ones are using a 1-inch thick strip, which I like better because it's just a little bit less to knock the plates on when you're re-racking after a heavy squat. They also, on the new version, seem to have shortened this back plate quite a bit, increasing the tolerance for mounting it on the upright. So that's really nice to see that they actually might be looking at solving the problem that I had mentioned before. Either way, these are really well built, great protective coverage, and I prefer them for squats and setting up something like a Romanian deadlift. Compared to Rogue and Rep, they're once again the cheapest option, so you really can't go wrong. For a standard J cup, it's kind of the same story. There's really nothing super complex about these. They're really well built. They're kind of the same across the board between Rep, Rogue, Bells of Steel. Weird thing though, the Rogue version does not have UHMW on the front lip, which I think is super strange to scratch your bar up. So I would even say the Bells of Steel are better, and once again they're cheaper, so winner here. And I do think the logo cut into the front is kind of a nice touch. Let's talk about the Lat Pulldown Low Row. Whoa, gee. Again, I already covered this pretty extensively in my Manticore review, but I did leave out a few important details, including my biggest critique. Overall, I think it's great and even a near necessity for building an all-around versatile home gym system. So unless you already have a really good standalone cable tower, I would absolutely get this, especially if you already have this rack. There are two different versions. The plate-loaded version at only 690 Canadian dollars is extremely well priced. So if you want to save some money and you don't mind stacking on the weights, it really is a fantastic option. If you're lazy like me and just like quickly changing the weights with the selector pin, then the 210-pound weight stack version at $1,500 Canadian, I think is still a great option if you have the extra cash. The best part is that the weight stack still comes with weight horns attached, so you can load this baby up to 500 pounds. Here are my complaints. I don't like how the lat pull down exit point only allows you to pull straight down, but I've mentioned that in both my other videos so far and I won't beat the point to death. The real crime here is that this is the one add-on that neglects not one, but both of the things that I like about all the other Manticore accessories. This unit was meant to be interchangeable with the Hydra, so it follows the Hydra standards and does not have UHMW plastic on the contact points for the cross member that holds your legs down. It also does not come with mag pins like everything else does. I did that the first try, I swear. Ow! Jeez. This wouldn't stop me from recommending it, but it was a real disappointment when I got it, and I would like to see Bells of Steel do better on this one. The lack of protection is especially frustrating, but I did come up with a pretty simple solution for that. In my last video, I showed you a roll of thin UHMW tape, 10 mil tape I think it is, that I used to fix something else. And again, I just cut some strips and I lined the inside of this with it, and so there is no contact metal on metal with the rack. It's a simple solution, it works, but I wish I didn't have to do that. Having said that, I don't even use this anymore. Instead, I picked up these leg rollers from Rep that I really like. Bells of Steel offers something similar, but they have a mounting bracket that's just so big and clunky and totally unnecessary that I prefer the Rep ones, but both of them will do the job. I mean, really, this 1-inch steel post could hold an elephant. Like, you don't need the big mounting bracket. It comes with two attachments, this longer lat pull down bar and a shorter version, also very similar, fixed short bar for doing curls, press downs, whatever you want. I couldn't find it when I was trying to set up for this video, which tells you everything you really need to know about them, and that is, these suck. Seriously, these suck. I get it, you want to save money, it's good for bringing down the overall cost, and that's probably a good thing, it makes sense, but these suck. The first thing I did was upgrade them. I should say, I did still find a use for this longer one, so I am keeping it because it's a little bit wider, it does still fit between the uprights, so when I'm sitting down doing a wide grip low row, I actually like this one. Any of the upgraded bars are wider than the rack, and I can't really do that with it. But the short one, again, it's fixed. Trying to do curls with a fixed bar that doesn't rotate really sucks. And then these plastic handles on the end come loose. It's not very good. Bells of Steel sells this knurled steel pull down bar, and it's actually pretty great, and it's cheap, so I'll keep it, it works. But if you really want the best out there, I found these amazing attachments that I want to show you. These Onyx revolving bars are really nicely knurled metal bars with an exceptionally smooth rotating mechanism. These are awesome. The best part is that I found them from what appears to be a Canadian company. I checked out both fitweightequip.ca and fitnessexperience.ca, so I contacted them, and as far as I can tell, it's the same company. Weirdly, they both seem to have different sales and different shipping, so check them both out, pick whichever one is the best price at whatever time you're looking at it. But these Onyx revolving bars are by far the best attachments I've ever seen, and I would highly recommend them for a pretty serious upgrade. That's all I've got for now, but check back later for some more gym hacks and reviews. Couple upcoming ones. I have the Freak Athlete Hyper Pro on its way. Should be here in a couple of weeks. And since I'm pretty new and kind of a nobody, I'm probably the only YouTuber they didn't send one to for free. So it'll be about the only non-sponsored, really honest review. I got some Rep X Pepin dumbbells coming that I'm super excited about. And when my Aries 2.0 shows up, I'll be doing a whole bunch of side-by-side rep versus Bells of Steel showdowns. That'll be pretty fun, so check it out. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.
Hey, I want to see more kipping. We didn't come here to use our muscles. Get that momentum going.